Hello there. I'm Scotty, and you're not. Just a minute here. Wait, turn the sound up. And continuing the uh, Pick Your Poison challenge. I have selected TV adaptation, pulled it randomly. So I decided that this is not only I'm reviewing a TV adaptation, but also a sequel. I figured go ahead and do this. A Very Brady sequel. So I have voiced my opinion on this movie before that I did not like this movie. The first one was really good, and this one was way down there. Like it dropped the ball. Well, I'm eating crow. I'm eating my words. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I didn't think I was going to. I'm like, okay, I'll put this in and I'll just do whatever. I was cooking supper, whatever. But I found myself enjoying this way more than I thought I was going to. There are some things in this, a couple things I still don't like about it, but overall, it's not as good as the first one. I think the first one is, I wouldn't say perfect, but about it, when you're talking about taking a TV show and putting it on the big screen, that's one of the best examples of that. Like, it's one of the best adaptations, and they continue that in this. I don't think it's the same director. No, because I think this was their first film. But I think she did a very good job. Arlene Sanford, no relation. She did a good job of taking what made the first one so good and putting it into this. There are some things that I don't like, and I'll get into it, but yeah. So what's the plot? Basically, it's a couple years after the first one. I think the first one was 95, so maybe a year afterwards. No. The Bradys are enjoying their happy life when a man shows up claiming to be Carol's ex-husband, Roy Martin, and he has made his way back into her life. Apparently there was a boating accident, and supposedly he died, but actually he supposedly ended up in a coma and got amnesia. But also got facial reconstructive surgery because he was too injured, supposedly. But we quickly see that Roy may not be who he says he is. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm just gonna do the good and the bad with this. It's an easy way to do it for this movie. The good. I like how they take like what they did in the first one. They take a family very much in the 70s lifestyle, put it in the modern day. That is still what they do here, although it's to a lesser extent, although Roy does call it out. These characters are very much not aware of their surroundings. They do the things that the original Bradys did without a care, because back in the 70s you could do that and no one would say anything, but this is modern day. This is the 90s at this time, and people are going to turn their noses down. And I very much like that. I like that they once again incorporated stuff from episodes of the TV show, like the trip to Hawaii, which, even though this is the cover, only happens in the last half hour of the movie. But I digress. Also, the episode where Greg is getting older, so he wants to be treated like he's older, and he calls his dad by his real name. Hey, Mike, in a groovy sort of way. And, he's growing up. Although I think that was in the same episode as the Johnny Bravo one, or maybe not, I don't know. And the episode where Cindy's doll goes missing, and she and Bobby are trying to find it. That was taken from the show. And also the episode where Greg, I think it's the same thing. Greg wants to move up to the attic, but so does Marcia, and they end up having to share, which is very weird for two teenagers of the opposite sex to share a room. But they have like a curtain in the way. It was the 70s. They're more freewheeling, and I like the cast. It's the same cast, and it's the same performances. and they do very well. I was watching an interview with like the cast of kids, all grown up, of course, and Marie McCormick said that when she watched the first film, and she saw Christine, I'm sorry, her name's not on here, but Christine Taylor, that's right, from Hey Dude and stuff, on the screen, she had to remind herself that it wasn't her because she was so good at it. But there are, some things, I'll get into negative, there are some things, maybe it's not negative, it's just mixed, that aren't carried over from the last one. Well, the voices in Jan's head are gone, but she still does the Marsha, and the voices aren't in Cindy's head. For some reason, they just ignore that plot line. Peter, despite going through puberty in the last one and his voice getting deeper, is back to being squeaky voiced. And I feel like this is another mixed aspect. The song choices, very good. Good time music. Let me hear some other good time music that I like to hear. And I just love when they do this in these movies, where they start singing a song and like they're completely omnipotent to everything else around them, and everyone's just like, I wish they would shut up. Stuff, people making faces at them and stuff. I love that. I think it's funny. The director saw the first one, I'm assuming, and said, I can do that, and just went with it, because it's very good when it's like that. And then but the other song choice is a mix for me, because it's when it's time to change, then it's time to change. And to me, they should have done that in the first one, because that is the song from the episode where Peter's voice is changing, and that's the time to change. But they don't do it here because they did that plot line in the first one, so it's kind of weird to hear that song here. I also like Tim Matheson as this villain, Roy, whose actually real name is Trevor Thomas, as we find out later. I like his villainous plot point that he is living with the Bradys, and he is very much like the person of the 90s at the time, where you had the family living next door and the school kids and stuff. You don't really get that much in here. You don't get the school or anything. It's more home life stuff. There's some school stuff, but it's not as much as the first one. So he is the one. Everyone's all happy and stuff, and he's just like, because all he wants is this horse that's worth $20 million, which in 1996 was probably worth a lot more than $20 million is now, I guess. But I'm just saying. And that's what he wants. He wants this horse. It's a whole thing where they're going to put it to auction, but they spill grape juice on it, so Alice has to go get it clean. And they do this whole gag, which I ended up laughing. There's a couple jokes that made me laugh, like Alice is going through Roy's bag and finds a bag of mushrooms, and so because he doesn't like her meatloaf, she makes him spaghetti with those mushrooms in it, and he gets high basically because they're shrooms. I like that. And there's another joke. Well, to do that, I have to go into my negatives. So, negative. So when Roy shows up, it puts into question whether or not they're all related, because But the problem is, the whole premise is that a man with 3 kids marries a woman with 3 kids. That's in the freaking theme song, and yet they're like, oh, we may not be actually related. Well, that's the whole premise of the show, movie, whatever, And because of this, though, they decide to do a plot line where, because they realize they're not related, Greg and Marsha start to fall in love with each other. And every time they go back to that plot line, I'm just like, we move on. Please, it's not really necessary. This is something you should find on Pornhub or something. Not in a Brady Bunch movie. I mean, I don't know. This is the one thing from the movie that I remember the most. Maybe that's why I was so resentful against this movie. But for the most part, it's actually pretty good. This is the one big thing that I just, nah. And even after they save the day and they rescue the mom and they realize they're going to be a family again, they do kiss at this wedding. And it's like, do we need to see that? Like, was this someone's fantasy back in the day? Oh, I want to see them. I mean, they did the same kind of plot line with the Partridge Family biopic back in the 90s. Difference is that actually sort of happened in real life, as I think Susan Day and David Cassidy had a thing for each other in real life. This was just copying that. I think. The thing came out after that biopic. I don't know. I remember watching the biopic on ABC back in the day. For some reason. I don't know why. But I remember that vividly. They did that, and then this. It's like, you know? So the reason I went to that, my negatives is that the joke is when Greg is talking to Marsha, they get talking and they get a little bit close. And the whole thing with the first one was that when you say something suddenly came up, right? So he's talking to her and they're getting kind of close. And he's like, something came up. And I was like making my dinner, because I got it. It was funny. I didn't like that plot line, but that was funny. There are a couple things that made me roll my eyes in this. One I kind of laughed at, but the other one was just really big. So there's a couple of nods to other classic 70s TV shows. So Roy, basically the whole movie is Roy trying to get his hands on this horse. And it's just, Roy having to deal with this family for 89 minutes, for like 7 or 6, for like an hour at least, while he tries to get the horse. Zsa Zsa Gabor is the one who wins the horse. She plays herself. Rosie O'Donnell's supposed to be in here, but I don't remember seeing her. Maybe I was busy cooking supper. I don't know. But RuPaul makes a cameo playing the guidance counselor lady in the first one. Penis. So Roy gets the horse, and then he kidnaps Mrs. Brady and ties everyone to the banister. And Mike, who has already been suspicious, comes home and he's okay. We're going to Hawaii to rescue her, and he's going. Reason Roy, or Trevor, I can call him now. Trevor is going to Hawaii because he's going to talk to a Dr. Whitehead, I believe is his name, and to give him the horse to get the $20 million. During which they reenact, there's a lot of callbacks to very much stuff like in the first one. But here, when he's driving and he hits something, he runs over something and it causes him to get a flat tire. It's the Tiki Idol from the Hawaii episodes, and then he throws it and it lands by a tarantula. There's your callback to that episode, which is one that still sticks in my mind, by the way, that tarantula. I hate bugs, I hate spiders, blah, blah, blah. But that one sticks in my mind. Because I'm a big fan of the show, and I don't have the show on DVD. I might need to correct that eventually. Eventually. No. Yeah. Anyway, that's what I'm saying. Anyway, so because of this flat tire, Mrs. Brady, she gets away. She finds herself in a cave, but she's brought to Dr. Whitehead's house. And off screen, she tells him what happened. Roy shows up all sweaty with the horse and says, okay, I'm ready. Give me the $20 million. He says, I don't think I'm going to buy it. That's what we call a hot horse. And so Mrs. Brady's like, hello. And basically, she told him the whole truth. And then we get one that I kind of laughed at, but it is an eye roller if you really think about it. But I did kind of laugh at to say that the ship that crashed, Dr. Whitehead's son was the first mate. And he says, no, I'll never see my son Gilligan again. And then Carol goes, and I'll never see my husband, the professor, ever again. And I went, it makes sense because they're both Sherwood Schwartz owned stuff. So it is kind of funny. But Mike comes in, he saves the day. He starts to do little speeches. And then it was getting kind of old. Like, it was kind of funny in the first one, but he does his speeches in this, and it's just like, okay, can we just keep going? This movie is 89 minutes, like I said. Not even 90 minutes. It's 89 minutes, and it's like, he's just rambling on. But luckily, Trevor stops him and he punches him. He's like, you know what? And he goes to hit him, and Mike hits him into the pool, and he ends up getting arrested, and they go to Hadley's wedding to renew their vows, right? And so they renew their vows. They're all happy. Greg and Marcia kiss, whatever. Well, I forgot to mention before I get into it, the scene, because there's two scenes with musical. I already mentioned the songs, but the one is where they go out with Roy, and they're singing "Time to Change," and then when they're on the my nose itches. On the plane, they decide to sing good time music on the plane, and it's like people are like, I wish they would shut up or something like that. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so they go back, they renew their vows, Greg and Marcia kiss, whatever, and then Carol goes to throw the bouquet. I should mention that they do find, this is how they figure out the truth about Roy, is they find Kitty Carryall, her doll that they were searching for, and they find a picture of Roy with Trevor, and they realize he's a fake. But she gives her doll to Dr. Whitehead for some reason, and her lisp goes away, and then Jan gets the lisp for some reason. I don't know. And I forgot another thing that they copied from the show is the George Glass. Where in this, they're actually the George Glass. So he shows up at the end. So that's kind of cool. They actually do that. I remember if that's in the show. But anyway, she throws the bouquet, and they kind of cut to it landing in front of someone. She picks it up, and it's Barbara Eden, and she's playing Jeannie from I Dream of Jeannie. And they're like, "Well, who are you?" And she's like, "I'm Mike's wife." And Carol faints, and then we cut to credits, and it's like, okay, the Gilligan thing was kind of funny. This was, you needed a cameo for the end of the film, and you couldn't get any of the other Brady people to show up. So you got Barbara Eden. It's kind of funny, but not really. There's also a cameo from David Spade as Carol's hairdresser, and it's the guy where, I'm going to make you look beautiful, and you're going to be a whole new you, and it's just the same haircut. They do that in a lot of shows and movies. It's kind of an old joke, but it is kind of funny. I would say that, actually, surprisingly, a very Brady sequel is pretty good. It's not as good as the first one, mind you. But it's still enjoyable for me. I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than I thought I was going to. So, what's next? Sci-fi. You know what? I get 3 mulligans in this. I mentioned a rule. I get 3 mulligans. If I want to redraw, I can do that. I'm not ready for sci-fi right now. Maybe tomorrow if I get it, but I get 3 mulligans in total. I'm not going to do them all at once, but I'm going to give one more try. I kind of just want to... Right. We have... 80s. That I can do. I gotta figure out what movie to do. 80s. I got 3 mulligans. Eventually I'll have to do those down the line because I'm gonna end up trying to do all these. But so let me write down what I did for TV adaptation. Very Brady sequel. I was actually looking to do other ones. I was looking through the ones that I had, and there's a lot of comedies. And I don't know if I would do straight up comedy. This was comedy, but I picked out Max Steel, and I'm like, I don't know if Max Steel can hold my attention enough. Like, I'm gonna put on something I can put in the background, finish rearranging stuff, and cook my supper. Very Brady sequel seemed like something I could use. So, 80s. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'll look. Try to get it done tonight, hopefully. I want to try is the word, to do 2 more tonight. Try. But who knows? Huh? Okay. So what are your thoughts on a Very Brady sequel? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.